She died last night.
The film starts in an apartment, where a single mother lives with her ill daughter, Arya. Her mother, Jania, is a struggling single mother and doing her best to care for her daughter. We observe her situation through a series of visuals that reveal the stark realities of her financial hardship. Their modest home reflects the strain of living paycheck to paycheck. Jania's desperation becomes more evident when she discovers an eviction notice taped to her door, a blunt warning from her landlady that the rent is overdue. Her mourning is further weighed down by Arya's distress. The young girl confides that she has been shamed by her teachers and classmates for not being able to pay the $40 required for school lunch. Jania reassures her daughter with a fragile expression, "Sie wird das Geld bekommen." That day, expecting to receive her paycheck, aber Tag begins sich erst zu entfalten. At her job as a cashier in a local supermarket, Jania faces a barrage of emotional setbacks. Customers treat her with disrespect, and her manager, Richard, berates her over minor issues. Sie ist schon überfordert. Jania is trying to hold herself together when she's asked to mop the store floor. At that moment, her phone rings. It's Arya's school. They insist she come immediately. Jania pleads with Richard to let her leave, and after much reluctance, he gives her just 30 minutes. In a frantic attempt to get the lunch money, she heads to the bank to withdraw her remaining $47. However, the bank refuses the transaction, citing the requirement to maintain a minimum balance. When Jania finally reaches the school, she is met with devastating news. The teacher has contacted U.S. Child Protective Services, claiming Arya is a victim of neglect. With little warning or room for explanation, the authorities take Arya away, leaving Jania shattered and helpless. Overwhelmed with grief and desperation, Arya Jania races to her workplace, clinging to the hope that receiving her paycheck might be the only lifeline she has to reclaim custody of her daughter. In her frantic rush, she accidentally scrapes another vehicle. The situation escalates when the vehicle's owner, a white man, confronts her aggressively and in retaliation deliberately crashes into her car. Tensions rise as a female police officer arrives on the scene to assess the situation. The situation becomes more complicated when it's revealed that the man is also a police officer. He begins to intimidate and threaten Jania, but the female officer steps in, trying to de-escalate the situation. She instructs the man to back off and asks Jania for her driver's license. Unfortunately, Jania's license is expired. As a result, the officer issues her a ticket and impounds her car, stripping her of another essential means of mobility. Eventually, Jania arrives at the supermarket 2 hours late, only to be dealt another crushing blow. Her supervisor, Richard, coldly informs her that she has been terminated and that her position has already been filled. Jania, visibly shaken and tearful, pleads with him to reconsider, but Richard remains unmoved. She then asks for a final paycheck, desperate to access the funds. Richard refuses, telling her it will be mailed and not handed over immediately. Jania refuses to leave without the money she so desperately needs. Jania continues to plead her case amid the tense exchange. Two armed men suddenly burst into the store and attempt to rob Richard. Chaos ensues, driven by instinct and fear. Jania intervenes, struggling with one of the robbers and ultimately shooting him. In the aftermath, instead of acknowledging her bravery, Richard accuses her of orchestrating the robbery, shocked and panicked by the false accusation and the rapidly spiraling situation. Jania reacts impulsively and fatally shoots him as well. After the tragic shooting of both the robber and her supervisor, Jania is still reeling from the events. She grabs her money and rushes to the bank across the street, desperate to cash her check. At the counter, she is met by a bank teller named Tessa, who requests valid identification before proceeding with the transaction. It is only then that Jania realizes she doesn't have any form of ID with her. Jania seems distressed, and she starts to beg Tessa to make an exception, explaining her dire situation. Despite Jania's emotional pleas, Tessa firmly explains that she cannot violate the bank policy, as panic takes over and she's seeing no other option. Jania discreetly reveals the gun she had taken from the robber earlier. She does not explicitly threaten violence. The act instantly escalates the situation, transforming it unintentionally into an armed robbery. In response, Tessa silently presses the panic button to alert authorities. Nicole, the bank manager, receives a call from the police regarding the alarm. When she is asked to describe the suspect, she provides Jania's details to the dispatcher. Meanwhile, Detective K. Raymond, who is already investigating the earlier incident at the supermarket, has begun to piece things together. Surveillance footage and witness testimonies have already pointed her toward a suspect named Jania. When the police receive Nicole's description, Raymond quickly confirms that the person now holding hostages in the bank is the same woman linked to the supermarket shootings. Back inside the bank, Jania is overwhelmed as she realizes that she is now being treated as a dangerous criminal, a bank robber, something she never intended to become.
Look, the lady's still robbing the bank. All right, this is a security guard.
Emotionally unraveling, she attempts to demonstrate that she means no harm by releasing several hostages. In the end, only a handful remain inside with her: Nicole, Tessa, and an elderly woman. Just as the situation appears to be stabilizing, Jania sees live news footage being broadcast from outside the bank. To her horror, the officer who had earlier rammed in her car and verbally threatened her as part of the police response team, triggered by fear and a sense of injustice, Jania becomes even more unhinged, convinced that she will not be treated fairly or safely if she surrenders. Her panic deepens, diminishing any remaining hope of a peaceful resolution.
Janiyah, this is Detective Raymond again.
From the outset, Detective K. Raymond, a black woman and a single mother herself, approaches Janiyah's case with empathy and understanding. As she delves deeper into the situation, learning that Janiyah was not only struggling financially, but had also been evicted from her home, Raymond begins to see reflections of her own life in Janiyah's turmoil. This connection fosters a deep emotional resonance between the two women, even though they stand on opposite sides of the law. While trying to negotiate a peaceful resolution to the bank standoff, Raymond's conversation with Janiyah is live-streamed by one of the hostages. During the exchange, Janiyah pours out her pain and recounts how every institution she turned to, housing, education, employment, and banking, failed her at her most vulnerable. Her raw and honest confession strikes a chord with Raymond, but also with the public watching the stream. For Raymond, Janiyah's words echo personal memories and shared struggles, reminding her of what it's like to face systemic neglect while trying to survive as a single mother. Raymond then shares her own story of growing up with nothing, watching her mother struggle, and understanding firsthand how the indifference of society can push a person to the edge. This shared history fuels her determination to prevent Janiyah from becoming another casualty of a broken system. She becomes the only official willing to treat Janiyah not as a criminal, but as a human being.
FBI's taking over.
However, as the FBI steps in, the situation rapidly escalates. Their presence signals a more aggressive approach, and it becomes clear they are prepared to use lethal force. Sensing the urgency, Raymond takes swift action. She confronts and removes the officer who had previously harassed and endangered Janiyah during the earlier traffic altercation. She assures Janiyah directly, no one will hurt her now. Janiyah, visibly shaken but beginning to trust Raymond, shows signs that she is ready to surrender. Nicole, the bank manager who has come to empathize with Janiyah over the course of the ordeal, confirms that the threatening officer is indeed gone, helping to further calm her down. Then a pivotal moment shifts everything. Once the FBI restores Janiyah's access to her phone, she receives a long-awaited call from her mother. On the other end, her mother delivers devastating news. Arya, Janiyah's daughter, died the previous day.
Janiyah. What? She died.
This moment becomes the emotional climax of Janiyah, revealing the full extent of her mental unraveling following the devastating revelation of her daughter Arya's death. Janiyah appears to descend into a state of psychological collapse. Overwhelmed by grief, trauma, and exhaustion, her mind begins to blur the lines between reality and fear. In this dissociative, panic-driven state, she envisions the worst possible outcome.
She died last night.
The FBI storming the bank, gunning her down, and dragging Nicole away. It's a vision soaked in terror and hopelessness, a manifestation of her belief that her story, like so many others, will end in violence and silence. But that grim fate is only imagined in reality.
Janiyah. Janiyah. Janiyah.
Janiyah is gently brought back to the present by Nicole, the bank manager, who over the course of the ordeal has grown to understand and empathize with her. Nicole reaches out physically and emotionally, taking Janiyah's hand and walking out of the bank with her. Her gesture is both bold and selfless. She positions herself as a human shield, using her own presence to protect Janiyah from being shot by the FBI agents poised to react with force. Her actions send a clear message. Janiyah is not a threat, and she does not deserve to die. At that critical moment, Detective K. Raymond defies protocol and steps forward, breaking ranks with the tactical unit. Raymond approaches Janiyah calmly and safely places her under arrest before anyone else can make a move. Raymond's intervention ensures that Janiyah is not only physically protected, but also treated with the dignity she has been denied throughout her ordeal. For the first time in the narrative, Janiyah is not silenced. She is seen, heard, and allowed to live. And the film ends here.